Welcome to Azor, the Lawbringer. Hope you're excited to get some law in this wild western town. Hello. Let's get the chat closed out. And as far as opening hand goes, yes, I like it. We have Monastery Mentor, we have Delay. Love this opening hand. We're going to go ahead and keep. It'd be nice to see a one more colored source that's not City of Brass, but we will make this work. Playing against a Grenzo too, which is always a fun matchup. Let's see if our opponent wants to mulligan past 6 or not. And then looks like they're not. Let's go and lead off with. I guess at this point we're going to lead off with Mystic Gate. Yeah, we're fine with that. Lead off with Mystic Gate, and then we're going to go and pass the turn to our opponent. We're playing Azor, the Lawbringer. New sheriff in town partner. Whenever Azor enters the battlefield, each opponent can't cast instant or sorcery spells during that player's next turn. Then, whenever Azor attacks, you may pay Sphinx Revelation. If you do, you gain X life and you draw X cards. Opponent's going to get down a Skirk Prospector, which will allow them to start mining some of those Gerblins for some mana. Then we draw into Impulse. Yeah, let's go and go for City of Brass. We'll go and get that down. Now, with us having Impulse and Delay, I think I'm going to hold on to it until we get down Monastery Mentor, because I like getting down Monastery Mentor and getting those monk tokens going. We could go for Impulse, but I think we'll wait. Actually, we should have... well, either way, yeah, we couldn't get the mana down if we got down Ancient Tomb, so we're in a pretty good position. We play against Grenzo, Havoc, Razor. Whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to a player, go target player that player controls, target creature that player controls, or exile the top card of that player's library. Until end of turn, you may cast a card. You may cast that card, and you may spend mana or any mana of any color to cast that spell. But yeah, like I mentioned, we're going to go for Monastery Mentor next turn once we get down Ancient Tomb, and that'll allow us to build up some really nice monks with the Impulse and Delay. And you know, I might even be able to catch something with Delay at this particular turn, especially if we want to go for Grenzo. It wouldn't be the end of the world if we end up going for just to kind of set back Grenzo for a turn. That way they're not getting to exile stuff off the top part of our library, because you know, that adds up pretty quick sometimes. I don't mind taking a little bit extra damage. Yeah, let's go and go for that. Let's set the tone. Azor, we're going to go for Delay on Grenzo. That's what we're going for. Not just yet. Your papers aren't in order, Grenzo, so we're going to have you step out of the line really quick. And that'll send Grenzo back to the command zone. So they did have the option of having it delayed to where it would get the suspend counter with 3 time counters on it, but they did send it back to the command zone, so we're okay with that. In fact, they can actually, if they make the land drop next turn, they can sacrifice Skirk Prospector, and that'll allow them to get down Grenzo just a little bit quicker, too. So that's something they can definitely go for. All right, drawn to Oblivion Ring. Dude, yeah, let's go for Oblivion Ring on Skirk Prospector. Well, no, we need to get down Monastery Mentor. Yeah, we need to get that down. Let's go get down Reliquary Tower. Let's go and go for Monastery Mentor. I'd like to go for Skirk Prospector, but if they sacrifice it to get down Grenzo, that'll kind of do what we were trying to do with the Oblivion Ring. And then next turn, we'll worry about getting down Ancient Tomb and then getting down some of these monk tokens. Now, as far as getting down the Sheriff, you may have noticed that this is double white, double blue. We only have 2 colored sources on the battlefield, so we need to... we need to get a few more colored sources, but thankfully we can, oh, there we go, drawn to Windswept Heath. But at least we can go for Oblivion Ring. So with Goblin Mourn, sacrifice 2 goblins, create 3 1/1 red goblin tokens. You know, let's go and get down Ancient Tomb. And we're going to have to do this all in one turn because of our colored mana. Let's go and add blue to our mana pool. Let's filter Mystic Gate to add blue and white. Let's go for Impulse, 1 blue mana, and then 1 colorless mana. Look at the top 3 cards of our library. That will give Monastery Mentor prowess at this point right now, which is going to allow us to swing in and still give us a monk token. Okay, and you know, let's simply just go ahead and grab another colored source at this point right now. We could go for Austere Command if we want to get some sort of card advantage. You know, let's just, because that's going to be 1, 2. Yeah, we need to get down Azor. I definitely want to get that down, and then we should be able to get some more card advantage later on. So City of Brass deal 1 damage. Just go and tap down Reliquary Tower, and let's go and go for Oblivion Ring. Now, we can go for Goblin Mourns, but I think I kind of like going for Skirk Prospector, because that's going to get rid of any sort of goblins that they could go for. You know, it's good if they have Goblin Warrens on the battlefield, but if they have no goblins to sacrifice, then it's basically going to negate the Warrens. And plus, let's say that they do get a ton of goblins down. Taking care of Skirk Prospector definitely allows us to make sure that that mana doesn't get out of hand. So Plus, red always has a really hard time dealing with enchantments, so I like getting down Oblivion Ring on Skirk Prospector. And also, it's going to give Monastery Mentor a 4/4, which is pretty good. All right, so we're going to exile Skirk Prospector. What they can do in response to that, they can exile it, they can sacrifice it if they wanted to, but if not, we'll end up with Oblivion Ring. But either way, we'll get rid of it. Let's go and swing in for a 4/4. And then anything else, we're going to go and pass the turn to our opponent. Yeah, this is exactly what we want to happen with Azor. Get some really nice board control, and then get down some sort of token amplifying effect. If you haven't seen Azor before, one of the things that really kind of makes this deck really good is stuff like Monastery Mentor. We get that down, we cast a lot of our removal that's going to give us a token on the battlefield, and at the same time kind of pump some of those monk tokens. We also do have Talrand in here. We do have the Murmuring Mystic, which is a really good card for the deck. It allows us to get a bunch of bird tokens on the battlefield, and then Dawson of Perfection, which just really just makes for a wonderful token board state. Always enjoy playing control decks that have those sort of token enablers. All right, opponent's going to go for Beetleback Chief. That's going to end up with 3 Gerblins on the battlefield. And then we'll see what we draw into next turn, but at least if we want to, that's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We're actually 1 colored source away from Azor, but the following turn we can definitely get that down. Draw into Elspeth. Well, that's something we can definitely get down for 6 mana. Yeah, I think I like that. Let's go and go for Tundra. Let's go and go for Elspeth. And the cool thing about that, about Monastery Mentor, is it's not an instant or sorcery. It just says straight up non-creature spell, which is just absolutely wonderful for an entire board of monks. I love it. It's going to get the City of Brass Trigger out of the way. And at this point right now, if we're basically just having a kind of a token war, we're going to be going for Elspeth with the +1 ability, because that's going to be hard for our opponent to do anything with that. Okay, let's go and plus up on Elspeth to get those 3 soldier tokens on the battlefield. Let's go and swing in with the, if they want to trade with Monastery Mentor, they certainly can. But actually, we'll just go and swing in with the 2 monk tokens. That'll be 4 damage coming across. That's going to force the Beetleback Chief block or the double Goblin block. So knock them down to 22, and then we'll go and pass the turn. Now, next turn, if we end up going for Azor, that will be make it to our opponent can't cast instant or sorceries. We're not really super worried about that from a Grenzo deck, to be perfectly honest. Most of the time, you're just looking at some sort of Goblin tribal deck, as you can tell from our opponent. So with Azor, main thing is we want to get Azor down is in case our life total gets kind of like a little bit low or something like that. Once we get down Azor and we start paying for some of those Sphinx Revelations, that will definitely allow us to end up with some really good life gain and some really good card advantage too. Let's go and go for Elspeth. At this point right now, we just want to muddy the board up to where they just can't not swing in with all those Goblin tokens. And yeah, let's go and go for Azor. Let's go and crack Marsh Flats. Okay, we're going to get down Azor. That does get our life total down to 17. But thankfully, they will not be able to cast instant or sorceries. Then we can get some good card advantage and life gain for next turn. I'm pretty sure we already did activate Elspeth. We are looking at basically just some 1/1 tokens, so let's just, we could swing in, but at this point right now, with them having Goblin Warrens, this could basically, even if they make the land drop, that's going to allow them to get ahead on Goblin tokens. So we're simply just going to go and pass the turn to our opponent. But if Azor were to have some sort of army, some sort of sheriff army, I really like the idea of a bunch of monks and a bunch of soldiers. I don't know, it sounds like a pretty sweet army. I'd join that army. Opponent's going to go for Bogart Shenanigans. Whenever a goblin you control is put into your graveyard from the battlefield, it deals 1 damage to target player or planeswalker. Okay. So, and I'm pretty sure that will count towards Goblin tokens too, even though technically they don't go into the graveyard, they do die. So that will allow them to keep Elspeth in check. In fact, if they, I was about to say, if they want to swing in and deal some damage, they can certainly go for that. Let's see, the entire crew is swinging in at Elspeth. Do we want to? That's going to have Menace. That's going to be 1 damage. That's going to be, I think if we block. Actually, excuse me, I always forget with Legion Loyalist. I hate Legion Loyalist. Yeah, we're going to let that come across. With Legion Loyalist, creature tokens can't block. I always forget about that. And I'm like, yeah, because it happens, like, and it's always whenever I'm playing like a token deck, and I'm like, why can't I was like, oh yeah, Legion Loyalist, the Goblin guy. So, Throne of the Pharaoh God. Ooh. All right, we need to get a really good Sphinx Revelation going. Let's go and get down to Windswept Heath. So if we end up, let's say we swing in with the entire crew, that's going to be 6. That's going to be 12. That'll be another 12 once we go for the prowess off of Factor Fiction. That'll be 18 with the Azor, and that'll be 21 with Monastery Mentor. So I think we might be able to close it out if we swing in and get a little bit of life gain. If we get just one more spell for prowess. So let's go and crack Windswept Heath. I'm okay with going for this line of play. Because either way, we just simply can't block. We can block with Azor and Monastery Mentor if we want to, but let's leave it all on the field right now. Let's see if we can't close it out. And yeah, because I like our odds with Factor Fiction. Let's go and grab Plains. Let's go and go for Factor Fiction. And it's technically not over yet. Our opponent might get it on this one. We'll get the prowess, get another token going. Because I think if I counted correctly, that's going to be 21 points of damage. That'll give us another monk token to block, but we can't block with Legion Loyalists. So look at the top 5 cards in our library. At this point right now, we're simply just looking for something that we can cast, and that is everything that we need. Frantic Search, Supreme Will, and Prison in the Moon. Those are all going to definitely trigger prowess. In fact, whatever pile Prison in the Moon is in, we can use that to grab Throne of the Pharaoh God to get a little bit of protection, but this is exactly what we want. So we're going to go choose pile 1 to put into our hand. Let's go ahead and go for the Frantic Surge. Actually, we'll just go ahead and go for, well, yeah, Frantic Search is going to be a little bit better because we get to untap our lands. That'll get the prowess going. And you can see where, simply just getting down a monk token, doing what control wants to do, and that's kind of control the board state. And that's going to allow you to, build up enough of an army to kind of win the game. Definitely a good game to our opponent. They got off to a really good goblin start, especially with Throne of the Pharaoh God. Thankfully, with us taking Skirk Prospector, that really stopped any sort of crazy shenanigans from them sacrificing a bunch of goblins. Let's go ahead and discard at this point right now. Actually, we'll go and hold on to Teferi's Protection. It's pretty good. Get rid of Pull from Tomorrow and Command Beacon. And we'll untap Tundra, Plains, and then one more Plains. Okay, let's go and swing it with the entire crew. And like I said, that should be lethal. We're not going to pay for Sphinx Revelation. Sorry, Azor. We've got enough monks and soldiers to get it done. And that should, with that last prowess trigger, put it in a position to where we'll be able to close it out. But if we don't have Factor Fiction, I think it got us all the way down to 21 points of damage swinging across. So that would have not been super good for us. But thankfully, we're able to dig just a little bit deeper with Factor Fiction. And then even then, with Teferi's Protection, let's say that we can't close it out. With Teferi's Protection, that's going to allow us to at least kind of fog out for another turn and dodge something like Throne of the God Pharaoh. Okay, so we're going to be swinging across that. We'll put them down to -3, and that will be the game. A good game to our opponent. When you're playing a mono-red goblin deck, sometimes it's typically not really in a really good position to play against blue-white, pretty hardcore control. So definitely shout out to our opponent for sticking this game out. And to be perfectly honest, the game wasn't completely over. They got down Throne of the Pharaoh God, and they got some pretty good goblins going. So you can definitely always remember that Legion Loyalists, your creatures cannot be blocked by creatures like token creatures. I don't know why. That always just catches me off guard. But anyway, if you enjoyed your time with the Sheriff, like and subscribe. Thanks. Bye. Welcome to Azor, the Lawbringer, his new sheriff in town partner, and it's Azor. That's dumb. I've been recording too long. As far as opening hand goes, yes, I like it. We've got... It sounded good in my head, but I was just like, man, that sounds goofy. Anyway, let's get Azor popped back up. Hope you're excited. Hope you get your sheriff's hat on and your little belt with a pistol. Yeah, our opponent they want to get revenge for their goblins, so we'll see. Get that closed out, and we're playing against Shu Yan, so, and we're on the play. So let's go and lead off with a Flooded Strand, and then we're going to go and pass the turn to our opponent. We're playing Azor, the Lawbringer. Mr. Sheriff, the Azor Sheriff. Whenever he enters the battlefield, each opponent can't cast instant or sorcery spells during that player's next turn. Then, whenever Azor attacks, you may pay Sphinx Revelation. If you do, you gain X life and draw X cards. Let's go ahead and crack Flooded Strand, and let's go ahead and grab a dual source that comes into play tapped. Let's grab the Prairie Stream. Yep, that'll work. And then we'll grab Irrigated Farmland for next turn off of Polluted Delta. And then we'll be in a good position to make sure none of our dual sources come into play tapped anymore. That'll be pretty good. I was going to get down Polluted Delta. And then, do we want to go for... Yeah, I kind of want to go for Signet now that I think about it. I was going to crack Polluted Delta. Let's go and go for Tundra, and then we'll get down Signet. I realize I kind of want to ramp more than I do grab another dual source that comes into play tap, especially if our opponent doesn't have any sort of blue mana up. We want to be able to get that down. But yes, we covered Azor. Let's go and move on to Shu Yun, the Silent Tempest. Prowess, whenever you cast a non-creature spell, you may pay double mana, 2 mana. If you do, target creature gains double strike until end of turn. So, Shu Yun's always fun to play against. I'm always excited to see what sort of build our opponents have with Shu Yun, because there's so many different ways you can take Shu Yun, whether it's Voltron, whether it's combat tricks, or just straight up control, and then kind of using him as a finisher. Either way, it ends up being a ton of fun. Let's go to get down a Command Beacon. Yeah, and I guess at this point, we're just going to go and pass the turn. We do have Dawson of Perfection in our hand, which is exactly what we want to see. Typically, what this deck is, it's your standard blue-white, not blue-white, blue-white control deck. And one of the ways that we can really get some good value on the battlefield is by getting down something like Dawson of Perfection. We get that down, we start casting our Path to Exile, Swords to Plowshares. We get a token on the battlefield, which really kind of helps us go for some really nice 2-for-1s. Okay, so our opponent is tapped out. Do we want to go for Swords to Plowshares? I think we're okay with that. We could have gone for Disallow, but I want to hold on to Disallow for late in the game. With our opponent being tapped out, yeah, let's go and go for Swords to Plowshare. They gain 3 life, and we're not giving them an extra land with Path to Exile. So let's go and go for Swords to Plowshares. All right, it's going to send it back to the command zone, and we've got a wonderful opening hand to deal with Shu Yan, so I'm really excited about this. Let's go and get down Lightning Greaves. And then anything else, we're going to go and pass the turn to our opponent. So that will allow them to get down something else next turn. We can still go for Path to Exile again, but at this point right now, I'm not entirely sure. We'll see if they start making a few more land drops. I was about to say, we might end up, if we can somehow get a token on the battlefield, we might end up using Path to Exile on one of our own creatures to get our land count up to get down Azor. Typically, when you're playing a blue-white control deck, you want to have access to a pretty good chunk of mana, especially with Azor. Once we get down Azor, we go for that Sphinx Revelation. You to be able to get some good life gain and get some good card advantage. So it looks like our opponent is stuck on land. So we draw into Mystic Confluence, which we cannot get down. Yeah, because we're still looking at 4 mana. So we're going to go and pass the turn to our opponent and then hope that one of us hits a land. That way we can get something going. And, we'll get down Dawson of Perfection. And that'll be the quickest way for us to build up a pretty good board state. Okay, they're going to go for Compulsive Research. Target player draws 3 cards, and then discard 2 cards unless they discard a land. We could go for Disallow on this, but I think at this point, we'll go and let that stick. Yeah, with Disallow, that's going to at least allow us to counter their command or whatever they go for it again, and then still give us Path to Exile. So if we're thinking of it as, if we're trying to keep Shu Yan off the battlefield, we have 2 answers for keeping Shu Yan. That's going to be Path to Exile and Disallow. So I think I'm okay with that. But an argument definitely could be made for getting rid of card advantage, because one of the things that I love to do in control matchups is if somebody's trying to go for some card advantage card draw, is counter that card draw to kind of make it to where it's just kind of like a stalemate, or at least really stale on our opponent's side of the battlefield. But we don't know what they have in their hand. They still have a pretty, limited down to 1 or 2 cards in their hand. I like going for that, but with 5 cards in the hand, we'll go and let something like that go through. And they did discard a Plains card, so I would assume that they probably got a pretty good chunk of lands off that one. Still nothing that we can cast, so let's go and kick it back over to our turn and keep our fingers crossed that we do draw into some sort of mana source or some sort of mana rock. Drawn to Fumigate. Okay, all right. Anything else? No, let's go and pass the turn to our opponent. So, like I mentioned, we're still online for Path to Exile and Disallow. And if they do get down some sort of, with us seeing Crimson Wisp in the graveyard, this probably is going to be more of a dedicated Shu Yan deck. And so, we'll see what we can get going. Hopefully we hit a land drop. But I definitely want to hold on to Path to Exile and Disallow, because I was about to say the Fumigate may not be that good if they're only getting down 1 creature in hopes of closing it out with combat damage or commander damage. See if we there we go. Draw the Temple of the False God, and unfortunately we will not be able to get that active. But we'll still get it down. That'll be the land drop for the turn, and then we'll go and pass the turn to our opponent. Kick it back over there. Now, as far as amplifying tokens out of the battle, out of our deck, Now, we do have Dawson of Perfection. We also do have Monastery Mentor, which is absolutely wonderful. Get those monk tokens going. We have Mystic, not Mystic Confluence, but Murmuring Mystic, which is get those bird tokens. New card from Guilds of Ravnica. So with them getting down Shu Yun, do we want to go for Disallow at this point right now? Yeah, let's go and go for that. It's better than nothing. We need to get something developed, and then that's going to still give us access to Path to Exile to kind of stop that. So let's kind of keep Shu Yun off the battlefield, and then drawn to Factor Fiction. Okay, well we want to make the land drop this turn, so let's go ahead and go for Command Beacon, and then we'll go and go for Factor Fiction. Yeah, we need to do this, so we're going to go for Factor Fiction. And we'll see how our opponent decides to split this up. But at this point right now, we're pretty much going to take whatever pile that a Reliquary Tower is in. That's kind of what we want to go for. And Shoot the Angels is nice, but it's not really going to do much with that. Us not having a ton of white, and especially with us not top decking it. Okay, we're definitely going to choose pile 2, so we're going to take pile 2, put that into our hand. That's a good split by our pile. I would have loved to go for Pull from Tomorrow or Jace, but we need mana, so let's go and get down a Reliquary Tower, and then let's go and pass the turn to our opponent. Okay, so our opponent's going to go for Pull from the Deep. Sorry, had a little bit of a coughing attack. That's why I kind of sped through our opponent's turn, but try not to cough in the mic. And but yeah, so they go for Pull from the Deep, and they've returned a couple different cards out of their graveyard. Yeah, man, that was normally I try to power through some of those coughs, but I'd cough for like 30 seconds for a second. I'm not getting sick. It was just your throat gets itchy, and it's winter time, so sometimes that happens. All right, so we draw into Searcher Azcantha, and then once again, we did not hit another land. We can go for Shu Yun, we can go for Azor. That's going to cut them off any sort of instant or sorceries for next turn. Yeah, let's go and go for that. Let's go and get down Azor. That's still going to allow us to swing in. Yeah, I like those. Let's get down Azor. We're going to be able to get Lightning Greaves onto Azor. That'll be an extra combat damage that we can get in, or excuse me, commander damage, and then also kind of blank them out from any sort of instant or sorceries. So they did bring those back to the hand. Let's go and go for Lightning Greaves onto Azor. Okay, let's go and swing it for 6. It's going to put them down to 27, and that will be 6 total commander damage, unless our opponent has some sort of funny business to stop that. No funny business, Lebowski. All right, not going to pay for the Sphinx Revelation. It's going to put them down to 27, and then we'll go and pass the turn. But we will have to discard something out of our hand. No, excuse me, with Reliquary Tower, we will not, so we're actually good to go. Now, as far as next turn goes, we do have 4 colored sources that we can kind of deal with. We do have a little bit of mana for Entreat the Angels. I'm not super thrilled about going for Entreat the Angels, to be perfectly honest. That would give us a pretty good game clock, but you never know if we're going to be running into some sort of a board wipe or something like that. And we can get some really good board control with Supreme Will, Mystic Confluence, and Path to Exile. So all right, so we draw into Plains. Let's go and get down Plains. Let's go and swing in for another 6. And that's one of the good things about Azor is that he is a 6/6. It does take 4 turns with some sort of commander damage, but it gives you something to do in blue-white control. We can swing in with Azor, hold back with some spells. We're halfway there to getting commander damage. So Azor, he's just a really fun commander. Really fun control commander. If you're looking for something blue-white that's not just like combo or a Loro or something like that, it's a really kind of, I don't know if this would make sense, but it's kind of like a mid-range control deck in that, there's sometimes that you're really aggressive with the deck, but there's sometimes we can basically just sit back and, swing in the air with the Azor, get some Lightning Greaves on there and deal some pretty good damage. Now, as far as our opponent getting down stuff, they get down Bone Wand. That's going to allow them to put some charge counters on it. Basically, what we're going to do at this point right now is we're just going to sit back with Mystic Confluence and Path to Exile, Supreme Will, and just do the whole sheriff thing, kind of stop whatever they want to get going on the battlefield. Instant or sorcery, you may put a charge counter on it. In fact, if we wanted to, we could go for, man, that would be absolutely brutal. Let's go and go for Cyclonic Rift, because that's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, let's go and go for Cyclonic Rift. I like doing this. Because that's going to get rid. If they're trying to go for some sort of cycle effect, casting a lot of spells, with us bouncing that back to the hand, this is going to make it really hard for them to combo off this turn. So No charge counters on it, and that still puts us on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We still have 6 mana to kind of use either Mystic Confluence and Path to Exile, or simply just go for a Supreme Will. We'll decide what our opponent kind of gets out there, though. Okay, and they will pass the turn. Now, with the Mystic Confluence, that is going to be a hard counter basically at this point in the game, so we're definitely going to hold on to it. Let's go and go for Supreme Will. We're going to look at the top 3 cards of our library just to get some sort of card advantage. Okay, and I guess, yeah, Arcane Denial, I like that a lot. That's going to be a hard answer to whatever we've got. Put those on the bottom in any order. Definitely could make a case for Monastery Mentor if it was earlier in the game, but at this point right now, we've pretty much got a lot of answers for whatever our opponent's going to get going on their side of the battlefield. All right, so we draw into Port Town. Let's go and swing it with Azor. That's going to be a 6/6, going to put them down to 18, or put them at 18 total commander damage, excuse me. Now, as far as how much mana we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We've got 8 total mana, so that's going to be Mystic, Arcane Denial, and Path to Exile. So let's just go and hold on to this. You know, we could get down Search for us. Oh, dang it, meant to get down Port Town. Sorry, my bad. But yeah, basically we've still got 8 mana, and that's going to allow us to hopefully kind of stop whatever they've got going on their side of the battlefield. I think with us bouncing back that bone back to their hand, whatever that was, that really kind of stopped them getting down some sort of kind of storm. Not necessarily storm, but, you know, if they have a lot of cards that you can kind of cycle through your deck, that definitely allowed us to kind of get a little bit of board control on whatever sort of damage they were hoping to deal to us. Now, if they're going for Shu Yun, this is going to be a perfect time for us to go for Arcane Denial. That'll still leave up Mystic Confluence and Path to Exile for us to go for. So, especially with them tapping out on blue mana, we don't have to worry about any sort of counter spell. So let's go and go for Arcane Denial. Okay, we're going to go for Arcane Denial, and that should, hopefully, fingers crossed, seal the deal. Sorry to our opponent. This is, sorry about that. Sorry about that. Yeah, this is, you know, unfortunately, this is one of those blue-white control. You know, it's not a lot of fun to play against Azor in control like this, but good game to our opponent, and you can pretty much see what Azor's trying to do, and that's just kind of keep stuff off the board. Now, when you're playing against some sort of commander that's, you know, all or nothing on the commander, like Shu Yun, stuff like Nekasor, control, that's where control really shines a commander. You know, once you keep their main focus piece off the battlefield, you pretty much negate their entire game plan. So, unfortunately, and that's what happened in this particular matchup, but that's what blue-white control does, and get something fun going for the next turn. But if you enjoyed the video, like and subscribe. Thanks. Bye.